hoping this is on. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. For all of those who don't know me, I am Rita Hausler, chair of the 9th Judicial Circuit Historical Society. It's a distinct pleasure to be here today and a privilege to be here today with the Northern District Historical Society to give this award to the indomitable, inimitable Jerry Braun. Truly incredible human being. A little bit about our organizations. Our organizations are both here basically to preserve and promote the vibrant history of the West and also to educate people about the importance of an independent judiciary. Wonderful programs like this are part of our mission, and once again, delighted to be here. I've been a board member of the 9th Judicial Circuit Historical Society for a number of years, and during that time, I've been honored to serve with Jerry Braun. He has been not only a pillar of our organization, but someone who has contributed in any way and every way possible, including endowing a prize for scholarly journalism called the Braun Prize, which is published in our publication known as Western Legal History. For those of you who have never seen Western Legal History, I'm hoping there are some copies of it here, because it's a really terrific publication, and the essays that have won Jerry's prize have been truly extraordinary. Together with numerous other contributions, such as what I just mentioned, Jerry is famous in our organization for his ability to bring the level of every discussion up to the highest point, and for his fostering of collegiality. He is truly a pleasure always to work with. His ability also goes beyond that. He has this unique ability to instill confidence in people because he genuinely cares and has concern for them. He takes a real interest in everyone. Jerry is also unique because he's so far ahead of his time. Jerry was one of the first people ever to be concerned about addiction and mental health in the legal profession. All of us who practice law know what an incredibly stressful profession it is, and Jerry's early interest in that, his founding of organizations to deal with that, and charitable organizations as well, is just so way ahead of its time. The ABA just recently, and major law firms are catching up with Jerry on this particular topic of incredible importance. As our honoree, the name of our honoree, Bill Edlund, the award's named after, Jerry definitely has the same spirit as Bill Edlund, and he's been an incredible leader, Jerry, in promoting and inspiring much-needed civility and caring in the legal world and beyond. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Judge Donato.
Well, I'm going to be very brief because we have an exciting presentation today. I'm going to talk with you just a little bit about our historical society, Northern District of California. We're in the other courthouse over in Civic Center. But I am going to say, because I just can't resist, it is such a treat to have a celebration of professionalism as embodied by Jerry and by Bill Edlund, particularly in light of all the news and everything else we hear out of D.C. and Iowa. It's a great thing that we can still show up and have living embodiments of the fine professional spirit and civility of spirit in the law, and all of you here are part of that as too. So, but back to the Historical Society. When I came in, I was happy to see that our colleagues at the circuit had tote bags and magazines and gift bags. We don't have any of that. We're still growing, but we have a wonderful new board. We have our wonderful practitioners like Rita. She's not on our board, but we have our equivalents volunteer their time. We have some academics. We have a number of colleagues of mine on the bench who are involved in the society. And what we do is we put on programs, 4 or 5 a year, that really highlight some of the seminal legal events that happen in our court. I mean, it's a wonderful way to remember that this district, our Northern District, has seen some of the most noteworthy and incredible trials you could ever happen to see in court. Patty Hearst, Harry Bridges' deportation trial, the Port Chicago World War II trials, all of that happened in our courthouse right here in town, in our Historical Society brings people together to talk about those events, often with people who participated. So I hope you'll come down and join us. Our next one is March 3rd. It's going to feature Bill Alsup, or Judge Alsup, and Judge Breyer. One of the things we did recently was have beautiful reproductions of the murals inside Coit Tower. You know, those fabulous WPA murals. We had them blown up, huge size, and put in all of our courtrooms. It's a spectacular enhancement of a public space, and we're going to have a program on March 3rd to talk about those murals and what they mean for the district and for the Bay Area as a whole. I put some flyers out at the table out front, so I will hope you'll join us. And now we can get to the meat of the program, and Judge Alsup is going to take us there.
Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Let's start this off right. We'll have many other, or a few other at least, opportunities to give applause to Jerry, but let's honor him right now with a round of applause. Jerry, we're gonna say a lot of things about you today, and this time you deserve them all. So, the one thing I want to add to what Judge Donato said, our district court building came online in 1962. So before that, this was the district court and the appellate court. Two of these courtrooms were district court. Judge Zerpeli sat here, for example, and I think the Harry Bridges trial was in this building. The Patty Hearst trial was over at the new building. So this has got a lot of history for both the circuit as well as the district courts. Now, one of my jobs is to welcome and some special guests who are here today, and I want to do that. Where is Dolores? Right there, Dolores, yes. I was looking beside Jerry, and Dolores is here. Dr. Sue Braun, Jerry's daughter from Arizona, is here. Aaron Braun, raise your hand, okay. Joan Braun, okay. Sarah Braun, all right. Daniel Braun, okay. Jennifer Wallace, great. In the back, Catherine Humphreys, okay, excellent. And by way of judges who were present, Judge Bea, right there, one of our circuit judges. Thank you for coming today. Is Judge Berzon here? Oh, yes. All right. Judge Berzon, thank you for coming. Judge Thelton Henderson is right there. Thelton, was this building, you came on in 70, so you went on to the, when you came on, the district court was already in the new building, yeah. Okay. Judge Chesney from our district court. And of course, you've heard from the Judge Donato and myself. So we are here today to celebrate our district, to celebrate our circuit, and the extremely high level of practice for which our district and our circuit are known. And I want you to know, I think I'm entitled to say that because before I got this job, I was a lawyer. I practiced in many jurisdictions in the United States, and none was any higher. Many were lower, but none was any higher than this district. The only place I thought was equal maybe to us was the District of Columbia, the Washington lawyers. But we are very lucky to have the standard of practice for which I think we are now famous in this district. And we are here to remember our dear friend Bill Edlund, who epitomized that standard of practice, and to honor someone who also epitomizes that standard of practice and has helped put us on the national map. So with that, I am going to now we're going to do a couple of things today. One is we're going to talk some about Bill Edlund and the reasons that we have this award. And then we are going to say some things, nice things about Jerry Braun, who deserves every one of them. And then we will give him an award. Jerry will have an opportunity to speak to all of us, to say what's on his mind. We look forward to that, Jerry. And then we will have a reception. So let me start off by asking Michael Abraham to come forward and to remind us about the wonderful qualities of Bill Edlund. Michael Abraham.
Thank you, Judge. So, Bill Edlund, my beloved partner, was born in 1929. He graduated from Stanford and earned his law degree at Berkeley in 1953. His bar number was 25,013. Shortly after graduation, Bill joined the law firm then known as Pillsbury, Madison, and Sutro in San Francisco, where he practiced law for 43 years. After that, he joined my law firm, Bartko, Zenkel, Bunzel, and Miller, where he practiced for 17 years. He frequently mentioned that he liked to change law firms about once every 40 years. At Pillsbury, Bill rose to become one of the premier leaders of the litigation group, where he spearheaded significant antitrust securities and other high-stakes litigation and appeals. While at Bartko Zenkel, Bill was one of the most active members of the firm. Like Theodore Roosevelt, Bill believed that life was no greater reward than hard work done and worth doing well. He was a skilled and gifted lawyer. He left no stone unturned in pursuit of his client's cause and justice. When preparing briefs, he would engage in deep dives into legislative history, and he would contact the authors of any treatises cited by the opposition. In one matter, in support of a Daubert motion, he was able to obtain a declaration from a treatise author stating that the opposition's expert's report had misconstrued the point in his treatise. Every writing needed to be edited at least 4 times, and if not, more likely 7 times before Bill thought it was ready. Bill's excellence in writing was matched by his excellence at oral advocacy. His noteworthy contributions included the Timberlane Company versus Bank of America decision, which established a standard for extraterritorial antitrust jurisdiction and the application of the active state doctrine, Chevron versus Pennzoil decision, where he represented Chevron in the leading case on the intent of Schedule 13D disclosures, and the Stilson versus Reader's Digest decision, where he represented the publisher in the leading case on rejection of class actions for invasions of privacy. Bill had many interests outside of the law and regularly demonstrated his leadership in the community. He was particularly committed to the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. Bill was not only a founding member of the center, he served for many years on its board of directors and served a term as its president. Bill loved and was committed to the legal profession. Bill was a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, a director of the Bar Association of San Francisco, and a trustee of the United States Supreme Court Historical Society. Bill was a long-serving director of both the Northern District and 9th Judicial Circuit Historical Societies, as well as a friend and mentor to many of the judges serving on the Northern District. Bill was a zealous advocate for his clients and relished the fight. He approached every legal battle with integrity and preparation. He would also not countenance a lack of civility. Bill is survived by his wife Iris and his daughter Campbell. My firm and I are very pleased that the Northern District and the 9th Circuit Historical Societies have founded an annual award in Bill's honor that is entitled the Bill Edlund Professionalism in the Law Award. Bill demonstrated on a daily basis how the practice of law should be meaningful and enriching, always striving for excellence. Bill was an exemplary legal professional who loved the law and the judiciary. We would all do well to try to be like Bill. I can tell you that today's honoree certainly achieved that. Thank you.
word about the process. The award is given to someone, a lawyer, of course, who represents the following criteria: excellence as a lawyer, both in written and oral advocacy. So that's one criterion. Next is civility. I will say, as I mentioned earlier, that this is one place where our district soars above much of the rest of the country, is in civility. Next is commitment to the legal profession. And finally, leadership in the community, meaning that you give back something to the community and you help to, not necessarily just law, but related, but to the community itself. Those are our criteria. Our process is that the two historical committees send out requests months ago, as we did a year earlier, for nominees, and anyone is entitled to nominate someone and explain the reasons. And then the committee takes all these names in, and of course, as you can imagine, they're stellar candidates, and the committee members know a lot about each of these already without doing any homework. But then we do some homework. We have an embarrassment of riches with so many excellent lawyers in this district. So it is not an easy decision always, though in the case this year, one name rose to the top pretty quickly. And that is our procedure. Now, I'm going to ask Jeff Fisher and Doug Young to come up, and before I do that, I have a note from Judge Michael Hawkins, who says the following: I am sorry not to be able to attend today's ceremony where Jerry will receive the Bill Edlund Award for Professionalism in the Law, reflecting Jerry's lifelong service to the Court of Appeals and the 9th Judicial Circuit Historical Society. I, meaning Judge Hawkins, came to the court 25 years ago, and Jerry welcomed me with that sincere warmth that he extends to all. His embrace of both the court and the society were and are institutional in nature. He simply wanted both to perform in a way that brought credit to them. Congratulations, Jerry, on this richly deserved and well-earned honor. Jerry has practiced for as long as I have known him with these two, and they are his partners at the Farella firm, and will now come and have the opportunity, Jerry, to explain why you so richly deserve this award, as Judge Hawkins said. It's Doug Young and Jeff Fisher, and which order would you like to go in? All right, and then immediately after you, Doug, you just come up, and I won't interrupt.
Thank you, Judge Alsop. As Judge Alsop mentioned, I'm a partner at Farella, Braun, and Martel, a proud partner, where we just celebrated the 90th birthday of our two founding partners, both of whom are here today. Jerry, who you know, and right behind him is Frank Farella, who's also here today. And I got to take an elevator ride with the two of them, and 180 years of history, pretty amazing. So welcome, Frank, as well. I'm also past president of the 9th Circuit Historical Society, and I've been on the board of that, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, for many years. And I'm also an unabashed fan of both Jerry and Bill Edlund. And it's my honor to talk today about two of the people that I really honor most in this profession, Bill and Jerry. I came to know Bill over a decade ago when he started serving on the board of the 9th Circuit Historical Society. In fact, it was Jerry, his friend, who brought him to us and who twisted Bill's arm to get involved in the 9th Circuit Historical Society. He had been involved in the Northern District Society for many years before. We were thrilled to have Bill. He was one of our, even though he was in his late 70s at the time, he was one of our most active and important members. He served on our executive committee for a number of years and was our secretary as well before he passed away a few years ago. I'm proud to call him my friend. I miss hearing his voice. I miss his wisdom and his passion for the law, for legal history, and for the legal profession. Bill would have enjoyed being here today, and he really would have enjoyed honoring his friend, Jerry. So let me say a few words about Jerry before I turn it over to Doug. Jerry is a great writer, as everybody in this room knows or should know. So it seemed fitting that I would use some books to talk about my relationship with Jerry. About 20 years ago, one of my friends at the firm came into my office and asked me if I would like to help out Jerry with some copyright issues he was having on a book he was working on. And in one of the best decisions I ever made in my legal career, I said yes. And that book turned into this, the biography of Judge Poole, that Jerry worked on tirelessly. He was the motivating force behind it, and it wouldn't have happened without Jerry and without his force of will. This book has been used in schools throughout California, in fact, throughout the country, to educate the next generation, to help bring Judge Poole's story to life, and to help educate and inspire the next generation of leaders in this country. Through working with Jerry on this book, I became involved in the Ninth Circuit Historical Society, an organization which Jerry was one of the founders of back in the 1980s. And through that, Jerry became a trusted advisor, a confidant, a mentor, and a friend. Jerry, I want you to know how much I appreciate all you've done for me over the many years that we've known each other, and how much I cherish still being able to walk into your office, sit in those soft tan or light brown chairs, I'm not quite sure what color they are, and sit at your table and talk with you. And I'm so happy to be here to celebrate this award. And this leads me to the second book that I wanted to talk about today. And it's a book actually Jerry himself wrote about his father. It's called A Righteous Man, a memoir that he wrote to his father. And I wanted to read a few words that Jerry wrote about his own father about 20 years ago today in the afterword, which I think sum up for all of us what Jerry is to all of us, and frankly what Bill is to all of us as well, because I think these words apply equally to both Jerry and Bill. And he wrote, again, I'm paraphrasing here, this was Jerry writing about his father, but I will change the introduction here. As long as we follow in his footsteps and example, his life and its meaning will last until the day after forever. I think that sums up pretty well how much you mean to me, Jerry, and to the rest of us here in the room. Let me just close by saying thank you, Bill, for putting a spotlight on something that is so important today in the legal profession, as Judge Alsop said, professionalism. And I want to thank you and congratulate you, Jerry, on this award, my mentor and my friend. Thank you.
The original name of the firm was Elke, Farella, and Braun. And I mention that only because in 1976 or thereabouts, a young lawyer reported for duty in a federal district courthouse to a federal judge. It was Alfonso Zerpoli, and his daughter Jane is here to honor Jerry as well. And on that young law clerk's first day, he got to see Tom Elke do a closing argument in a jury trial. And the next day, he got to watch Jerry Braun argue a class action motion in a class action case, also in front of Judge Zerpoli, a case that, by the way, when it settled, was the largest class action settlement in a securities case up until that time. That young law clerk clerking that year, seeing these great lawyers in and out, day in and day out, from all parts of the firm, including Jim Heidel, who's here, John Cooper, who's here, began to think about, I wonder if I could practice with that firm and work with Jerry Braun, John Martel, Frank Farella, Tom Elke. That little 16-lawyer firm, started by some young men when they were 32 years old, was punching way above its weight in the courtrooms. And lucky for me, they allowed me in. And I've been there ever since and have been so honored to work with Frank and Jerry, Tom and John, and all the others in the firm. And we have a whole bunch of younger lawyers here in the audience who are now a part of that bigger family. Jerry and I have had a long relationship. He's been a mentor and a friend and a collaborator. And I like to think as we've gotten older that that mentorship has started to go both ways. He mentors me, and I like to think that sometimes maybe I get to mentor him. At least I hope so from time to time, Jerry. Jerry taught us everything we know about the law. He taught us how to write. And in those days, it's not how it's done today, but in those days, in Jerry's office, there were no split infinitives. You bring a brief to him that had a split infinitive in it, and it would come back redlined pretty hard. And he also taught us the ABCs of writing: acuity, brevity, and conciseness. He taught us about how to argue in court. And one of the things I remember he talked about was the wisdom of Napoleon, who's reported to have said, "There's some brilliance in winning, but it's also good to know to keep quiet when the other side is losing." And he taught us a lot about civility, how to win and how to lose. He always said, if you're fortunate enough to win, embrace the result, but don't go around town bragging about how you got there. And I think he always was a role model in that way. And one of the reasons, Judge, why I think the Northern District does have a reputation for civility throughout the country. Jerry's door, as has been said, is always open. You can come in, sit across from him, and have a chat about anything in your life. A case you're working on, problem you're having at home, something going on with your family. And then, as some of you know, when you leave, his parting words always are, be well. Be well. And he means it. He really does. He really cares. He's always been worried about the future of the firm, and even now that we've gotten bigger and we like to think we can stand on our own, you can only imagine the days when a firm was only 16, 18, 20 people. Jerry would come in on Saturday mornings, every Saturday, go to the mail room, open up every piece of mail to make sure we hadn't been served with a TRO or a preliminary injunction or something. And if we had, he'd start making phone calls. When we finally got to be about 35 or so and could have a semi-professional mailroom, he slept in a little later and got some rest to play tennis. Now, one of the factors that you saw on the slide that Judge also showed is leadership in the community. I talked about civility and the other things. Leadership in the community. And it won't surprise you that we have gotten comments from other people about Jerry and the things that he's done in the community. I got one, I have to read it. I have two I have to read to you. I was CC'd on an email from a prominent partner in a law firm in town here. I won't say who it is, but who said, I recently had the privilege of observing your PLI program on substance abuse. It was perhaps the best, most wonderful, and inspiring program I have ever seen, and he put in parentheses, and that includes some of the ones I put on myself. We got another one from a law professor at Golden Gate who said this: for nearly a decade, Jerry has been coming to my professional responsibility class at Golden Gate University School of Law to talk about substance abuse and introduce students to the other bar. His lectures are engaging, personal, and very powerful, especially for students who may not have ever previously considered these issues. Substance abuse is not a subject that law students generally discuss, and yet Jerry discusses this topic in a way that enables the most vulnerable to feel supported. Although he is never paid for his time, he consistently comes each semester when we ask him to do so. He's a valuable asset to those of us in the legal education field who are seeking to prepare the next generation of lawyers for the stresses of law practice. We are all deeply indebted to him. That's Jerry, in part in the community. And you know, and have heard many of you about the Other Bar. It's a program for lawyers and judges in the recovering community. Jerry has been active in that organization for many, many, many years, and I don't think it's hyperbole to say that through his efforts, directly and as a result of the teaching he's done all around the country, hundreds of lives have been saved, and hundreds of people have seen the quality of their lives improve. He's won the Edwin Train Caldwell Service Award. The key word there is service. He won the Hazelden Excellence in Community Leadership Award. The key words there, community, because Jerry is a community-minded person, and leadership, because of the leadership he has shown. In this circuit, he has won the John Frank Award for outstanding lawyering in federal courts, and that is really one of the 2 or 3 premier awards that the Ninth Circuit awards to any practicing lawyer. And he's won the American Inns of Court Professionalism Award for outstanding integrity, dedication, and to the standards of the rule of law. Jerry is literally a father to so many of us, a friend to so many of us, a mentor to so many of us, and an outstanding technician in the law. In doing all of these things, he also managed to be invited into the American Academy of Appellate Lawyers and the American College of Trial Lawyers, both organizations that you can't apply to, but you're invited if you're that good. And Jerry Braun is that good. So Jerry, I think the words of John Wooden, the basketball coach at UCLA, who I think stole this idea a little bit from Abraham Lincoln, but I can't prove it, apply to you in so many ways. John Wooden is said to have told his players, you should pay most attention to your character, because character is who you really are, whereas your reputation is merely what people think you are. Well, Jerry, for you, your reputation, dearly deserved, overlaps and meshes nicely with your character, which is also deeply won. Thank you, my friend, and congratulations.
Please come up here, and I'm going to present the award to you. Awards. No, wait. You got to look at the audience.
I'm so anxious. I don't know what to do.
I think as I've been listening to all the nice things about you, this thought occurred to me. Not many of us reach the point in life where you could say this, that this firm, this outstanding firm in San Francisco, is really a monument to you. These younger lawyers that you have mentored and they have maintained, that you have maintained, this firm has maintained this outstanding character for all these decades. And you're largely responsible for that. You should be very proud of that. And I think all of you in the room should be very proud of that who are with the Farella firm. My job now is to, Jerry, you're going to get a chance to say something in a minute, but for right now, let me give you 2 awards. The first is, and Robin is going to help with this, thank you. The first is a plaque that will hang in the lawyer's lounge on the 18th floor in our building at the district court. And Louise Rennie was at last year's honoree, and she is the first position there, and you will be in the second position. And it's, I won't read the entire thing, but it says the Bill Edlund Award for Professionalism in the Law, presented to those individuals who exemplify each of the following criteria: excellence as a lawyer, civility, commitment to the legal profession, and leadership in the community. And a very nice picture of Bill Edlund right there. So Jerry, congratulations. And we have one other, this one we will take back, but one you get to keep is coming from the rear. Here we go. It is this, can you all see this? This is lovely. Do you see the panel up there in the ceiling? This is an excellent reproduction of that very panel. And this is known, this is called what? Wisdom of the Law. That's the, see the little tablets there, Wisdom of the Law. So that's you, Jerry, Wisdom of the Law. And you will get to keep this and hang it in your office or wherever you like. And on the rear, just so you won't forget, is our dedication to you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, my friends, it's a pleasure, it's really an honor for me to give you Jerry Braun, who is free to say whatever you like. We are so proud of you, Jerry. Your turn.
I don't know where to begin. First of all, I can't believe all the stuff that's been said. I don't recall doing half that. But thank you, Bill. Thank you to the other folks that spoke. Thank you to my partners. Thank you all for being here. I can now understand why Adlai Stevenson, when he ran for president as a Democrat in 1952 against General Eisenhower, was, after a flowery introduction like nothing like what you've heard here today, said, "It's nice to hear yourself praised so long as you don't inhale." Well, I'll tell you, I'll try not to get the big head, although it's tempting. But it does remind me of a story. It may be apocryphal and it may be real. But it's about when Eleanor Roosevelt came to San Francisco in 1944 to celebrate the founding of the United Nations. And she was to be honored at a black tie affair, a very fancy event, at the Opera House. And she was to be introduced by this callow youth who was a nervous wreck at the prospect of having to introduce Eleanor Roosevelt. So he went to see the doyen of civic protocol, Cyril Magnin, to get some advice about how to make this introduction. So he went, and Magnin made it easy for him. He said, "Don't worry, you got the easiest job in the world. Everybody knows about Eleanor Roosevelt and what she's done and the great things she's done. So it's a piece of cake. Let her do the talking." So the big moment arrived. The young fella gets up and he says, "Friends, it's a real honor and privilege for me to introduce to you a woman known worldwide. She needs no introduction. Eleanor Roosevelt. The less said about her, the better. So, a word about Bill Edlund. You've heard it all, and it's all true. He was a wonderful human being, a dear friend, a consummate lawyer, great negotiator, great human being, a credit to a much criticized profession, and the paragon of what a lawyer should be. So I would say he is our man for all seasons. And I'm proud to have known him, and I'm proud to have my name mentioned in the same breath where his is mentioned. So, Cecil Poole, of sacred memory, said some years ago on the occasion of his appointment to the Federal District Court and his elevation to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, he said, "I didn't get here all by myself." He said lots of other people helped and contributed in one way or another, directly or indirectly. That was true for him, and it was true for me. I have my family. You've heard them. They're all here except my son Daniel, who's ill. They have given me unstinting support, never complained when I was busy off doing one of these other things you've heard about. Always loyal and always supportive. And I couldn't have done any of this without their support. And then there's the firm. It's clear that I wouldn't be here without the support of the firm. It just would have never happened. And it was always perfect with one very minor exception. And that was one evening at kind of a quasi-retirement affair. Frank Farella got up to make a toast. And he said, "Jerry," he said, "the place will not be the same without you." He paused. He said, "It'll get even better." Well, I have forgiven Frank for that. And I'm pleased and proud to acknowledge the role that the firm has played in supporting me in my various endeavors. And thirdly, there are my judicial friends. Through my activities, I've made some good friends. And it sounds like name dropping, but I will mention some. There's Judge Bea. There's Judge Berzon. There's former Chief Judge of the Northern District, Robert Peckham. His worthy successor, my great and good friend, Thelton Henderson, who I'm delighted to see here today. Thank you, Thelton, for coming. And many others, Proctor Hugg, David Thompson, the late Gene Lynch, Charles Legg, and the list goes on. If I've eliminated anybody or missed them, accept my apologies. I'm 90 years old. What do you expect? So, yes, those are the folks who have contributed to my being here, and there's no way I can adequately thank them except to express my appreciation today. Doug and Jeff have recently asked me on several occasions of what I was most proud during my time laboring in the Ninth Circuit vineyard. And I've surprised people with the response. It isn't some glossy proposed new federal rule of civil procedure or a rule of appellate procedure or some disquisition on the abstruseness of the Rooker-Feldman doctrine, about which I did do a lot of writing, by the way. But it's something else that, again, may surprise you. It's a California rule of court, Rule 8.548, known as the certification rule. So forgive me for sounding a little professorial, but that's the way it goes to explain this thing. This rule says where there is a pending federal case involving rules and principles of California law. In the old days, the federal court had to guess how the California court would decide the legal question. And it produced some confusion and some chaos. So this rule said and provided that when there was such a case, the circuit court, the federal circuit court, could petition the California Supreme Court to take the case to decide only the California legal questions. It was a struggle to get that rule passed. I had to argue with 4 chief judges and chief justices, and it was a real struggle that went on for years. Excuse me. It finally was enacted. And I'm told by the fine people in the federal clerk's office that since the rule's inception, there have been 65 applications, and there's one additional one pending in the California Supreme Court as we speak, and that 45 of them have been granted. So I'd like to think that this modest addition to California procedure has been a benefit to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and there are those in the room who can say yay or nay on that subject. I'd like to think that somebody's nodding their head and not sleeping. But in any event, the rule's in the books, it seems to work, and I'm very pleased with it. And there are other things that, of course, I'm very happy about. There was a monumental struggle over the years when certain members of Congress wanted to split the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the whole entire Ninth Circuit, for that matter. I was privileged to work with Proctor Hug and Mary Schroeder, Michael Traynor, Joe Rusinello, the late John Frank, and others who fought vigorously to expose those efforts, and I'm pleased to report that so far we've been successful. There was also the Cecil Poole biography, which Jeff mentioned earlier, and that's a source of great pleasure to see that and know that that's still circulated. The audience, by the way, for that book were teenagers and college entry-level students, designed to be a motivational factor. So it's still being used, and that's great news. And then there was a study that my colleague David Phillips and I did for the Northern District, addressing certain questions that Judge Lowell Jensen wanted us to look at regarding fines and penalties and taxes and so forth. Well, it was very convoluted. It wasn't very good, but the bottom line was, well, let's see. A fine is a tax for doing something bad. A tax is a fine for doing something well. So I haven't seen that study cited anywhere. So there are other things that could be said, other things that one could brag about or be proud of. But let's say that it's been a pleasure to serve. And for those of you, well, most of you, not most of you, some of you know that I did turn 90 last December. And of course, it was a time for rumination, reflection, wonder, past regrets, future fears. What's next? What do I want? What do I need? The usual. And then I was fortunate to run across a piece written by, of all people, a comedian whose name I've already forgotten. Her name was Abby. Gilda Radner. And here's what she said. I'm going to read it verbatim. I wanted a perfect ending, but now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme, Some stories do not have a beginning, a middle, or an end. That life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it without knowing what's going to happen next. And there was that well-known British-American poet and playwright, T.S. Eliot, who made the startling statement when he was presented with the Nobel Prize. He said, "The Nobel Prize is a guaranteed one-way ticket to one's funeral. The awardees never do anything after they get the prize." Well, I'm not going there as to whether or not that is accurate. But it reminds me that these beautiful awards are my Nobel Prizes, as close as I'll ever get. But I don't agree with T.S. Eliot, because these wonderful awards and prizes motivate me to not go gentle into the dark night, to continue to be of service to wherever and whenever, with whomever I can, to the extent I am able to do so. It also reminds me to thank the functionaries, the founders, the current leadership, the contributors to the work of both societies, and it reminds me to thank all of you in the room for being here today. In the immortal words of, what's his name? Oh yes, Garrison Keillor. He said, "Be well, do good work, and keep coming back." Thank you.
Well, Jerry's always a tough act to follow, but I'm just going to be here for a moment anyway to say the thank yous. I'm Robin Lipsky, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ninth Circuit's Historical Society. And we're so thrilled that you could all be here with us today for this really wonderful, wonderful, and inspiring event. I would like to take a few moments to do some thank yous. I'd like to thank the Edlund Award Committee for their time and commitment to this event. And I'd also like to thank all of our speakers today, Judge Alsup, Judge Donato, Rita Hausler, Michael Abraham, there you are, Michael, Doug Young, Jeff Fisher, and of course, Jerry Braun. I'd also like to thank the Ninth Circuit staff who took time out of an incredibly busy week to make this all happen, with special thanks to Vanessa Castillo, Bradley Van de Hey, and Kwame Copeland, and our NJCHS staff and volunteers, including Scarlett Espinoza, our new executive assistant to the director, Jasmine Lee, and Olivia White. On behalf of the boards of the Ninth Circuit and the Northern District Court Historical Society, we would like to encourage you to join our societies or even just make a one-time donation, because without your support, these events simply can't happen. To make a donation to the NJCHS, you can see me. To make a donation to the Northern District Historical Society, we have a sheet out at the table that you can put your name on and at the reception table, and they'll be happy to get in touch with you. And with that, I would like to invite you to come see our swag bags, which Judge Donato called out for us so beautifully. Thank you. And to invite you around the hallway to a lovely reception. Thank you so much for being here.